tonight being the eve of the day after Christmas, I'm gonna go and do a live to tape recording as opposed to my normal live Monday show. We'll resume the Monday show next week at 10:45 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 3:45 a.m. GMT, or London time. And for today's, we're just gonna do a little work on my V2 Victory Gundam. And I'm going to be watching some of my friends in the background who are also streaming live tonight. Which is partly the reason I'm not streaming tonight, but not the main reason, because, the show must typically go on. So anyway, with the V2 Victory Gundam, I'll show you where I left off, because we did a lot of hard work on here. Okay, so yesterday I did a little bit of work on this Gundam arm right over here, and let me see if I can adjust my lighting. Okay, so there we go, and this would basically be the left arm. Of course, we're not going to transform this into a Gundam right now, but this core fighter here turns into the chest piece right over here. So essentially, this nose folds up, retracts inside the body, and that's how you get the chest piece of this Gundam. And what we're going to do is we're going to work on the second arm. Okay, so let's see here. We'll flip it open. We got your typical Gundam manual. Oh, you know what? Real quick, we should work on my Klingon Bird of Prey. Yeah, so a friend of mine was kind enough to give me a Klingon Bird of Prey. So yeah, let's get started. Let's just get my nips. Here we go. As usual, when you're removing a model kit from the runners, you want to, use this for the rough cut. So we're going to do that right now. So we're just going to start with the, I guess we'll start the front or the wing. Yeah, let's do the wing first. Let's see. All right. There we are. Let me just now. All right. So what? All right. Now let's put that down there. I'm gonna do the next big part. I do like a rough cut, and then I use the flush cutters afterwards because I don't want to mess up the, the parts. I don't want any stress marks appearing on it. All right, there's the second part. Now it's gonna do the same thing. Clean up, flush cut, flush cut, flush cut. All right, that should do. I'm gonna take the same thing, get the nibs off. Oh, that's rough. Oh, it's a 3D print, so it's a little rough. My friend used a special cloaking filament. That's why it might not be easy to see it right now. We, used it cost a fortune to print this, by the way, because of the invisible cloaking filament. All right. Oh, almost dropped the part there. All right, let's. All right, where are we on now? All right, that should be fine. And we just gotta get the last couple of parts here. So we're just gonna get this one. Wait, I lost track. Which part did I cut? I don't feel anything here. Okay, I got this part already. I might need some help here. Oh, wait, here it is. Okay, last part. We got this. We got this. Oh, okay, almost missed it. Almost dropped that one on the floor. All right, good. So, unfortunately, this doesn't have any instructions, but so far we're looking good. So, let me just grab my glue. Oh, that's rough. Shit. That wing is kind of a little loose there. As you can see, the wing is a little bit loose, but so far we're looking good here. So let's just put some glue on it. All right. There we go. That loose wing is now tightened up. And there we have it. All right. We got a Klingon bird of prey. So before we started on the Gundam model, we've already built the cloaked Klingon bird of prey. Perhaps I'll get another one of these, and if anybody wants one to build their own cloaked bird of prey, perhaps we could send some of these out. But for now, I'm going to take my bird of prey. Look at that. How nice is that? I did a pretty good job on it. I mean, I was worried that the glue would, take away from the cloaking, but it looks like the glue did not ruin the cloaking, gimmick. So that's really, really nice. And, I'm definitely not painting it because I'm not sure if the paint would ruin the cloak or not. But I got to say, I did a pretty good job on this Klingon bird of prey. I'm very, very happy with the quality of this. So we'll put that down over here. Okay, let that glue dry. Now let's move on to a real model kit. I mean, a visible model kit. So we're not doing any glue on this. We are not doing any glue on the V2. And the reason is not that we won't ever use glue on it. It's just that you have a lot of intricate parts in here. Like just doing this arm here. Like it does a lot of movement. There's a lightsaber in here. It's called a beam saber. I don't even know how to do it properly. All I know is like you can see the beam saber poking out from this little opening here. So I think what happens is in the cartoon, the beam saber will get chucked through this hole and then the hand will flip around. So it's like sort of like a cool little move that happens in the cartoon, in the animated series when the beam saber comes into play. It'll chuck it into its own hand. And I'm not even sure if I'm doing this right because there is a trick to like, folding this up, so to speak. It doesn't feel quite right, but I figured out I'll just let it assemble and we'll figure it out eventually. But yeah, let's roll with it. So, okay. To do the next arm, we got to do right arm, left arm, right? So let's see here. I think we got left arm is over here now. Both arms use the same initial steps. So, for example, all of these parts here are the same. And I probably could have just snipped them together, but I was kind of uncomfortable doing the arm, in one shot. Or doing both arms. So let's roll with it and see how far we get. So we're going to start with, and I believe there are actually two sets of runners for these symmetrical parts. So, for example, we're holding down the F runner. This is the E runner. We should have another F runner. Yeah, in fact, I believe this is like the opposite side. Like, so these are the corresponding runners for the opposite side of the Gundam. So, okay, so we got F22, F20, and 21. 22, 20, and 21. So, let's do this. Okay, then we need 20. Okay, and so let's see here. Now, luckily these internal parts don't need as much cleanup. It's more a matter of making sure that your tolerances are good. So that things, with tight tolerances don't give you trouble putting together. Oops, almost nipped apart. I don't want to nip. That would have been scary. And then we have two types of these filing tools. So basically I would only use it on like this area here where we have a very rough thing. Okay, so now this one here, you just gotta take all of the little parts and kind of orient them as the picture is showing you. And then this hinged piece, I believe, goes through this hole right here. So we take this hole, just kind of gently shove that hinged bit right there. And we take the other end. Okay, that looks like it's doing what we want it to do. Now, there are parts of the arm that I might revisit and apply glue to later, but for now, until I fully understand how all of these mechanisms work, I think we're missing a piece right over here in the arm, so as we work our way through the arm, we'll find out if I neglected to put a piece of armored plating here. I'm like 80% sure if that's the case. So right now, this is just the shoulder, and we're already going to move on to F24 and 23. Katamari Damashi. Katamari Damashi. Okay, now this is going to be part of the shoulder. Okay, now we take these two, and actually before we do that, we should get this part here. That would be C22, which I may have already cut off this runner here. This is like an armored flap, basically. Same concept, we get the flush cutter to help here. Now, I'm not going to go crazy with this flexible bit here. We're just going to give it a gentle, basically remove that extra nib, which you can probably barely see. And I'm just going to see if we can adjust my camera so you can see the nib. So that little tiny thing sticking out there. Now, one thing I avoid is overdoing things when it comes to this particular kit, because it's vital that we don't, make it too tight, or we don't remove excess material from a given part. We need to be able to have it behave predictably. So if it looks like, I think I'm holding it backwards. So according to this, we have to shove this into this notch here. Then we can slide it in like that. So it went in on that little track. And then there we go. Then from there, we take these two pieces here. And I believe it wants me to take the female side and put it on this side of the track. It looks like a track. I don't think it's supposed to be a track. I think it's just a place to mount stuff onto. But let's see what happens. In fact, I almost forgot. We got to remove an extra piece here. Alright, well that's interesting. I might have done something backwards here. Okay, so I think we did it this time, and I think it does slide side to side, so that looks pretty good. Once again, this is the part that I might see myself disassembling and applying glue to later on, but until I understand how all of the mechanisms interplay, I'm being rather cautious about it. Alright, so now we gotta do C21. We're definitely not doing any painting to this because, well, it's not to most of the parts, because we need it to behave in a predictable manner when it comes to being able to transform or morph into different components. Now, this area here, it's unevenly sanded. It was almost like it had like a polished look in parts of it. So what we do is we're using the sandpaper to flatten out the surface. Then we can either do a light roughing. Most of the time, having a gloss to it might not make it look realistic. In this case, I am going to give it a gloss. We're going to restore the original properties, and I'd say that's about right. We can actually purposefully rough it up a little bit if we want, the plastics to be more uniform. There we go. I try to strike a balance between being shiny and not too shiny. And so now we take this, and I get some hand lotion. Nah, but jokes aside, yeah, my fingers are a little bit chapped in the winter, I gotta say. Alright, there we go. So we got that armored plate on. Now we're gonna do C24. I mean, not that it really matters. I mean, we're just gonna go through the numbers regardless. Okay, so we got one little nib right over here that you might not be able to see, but it's there. That little rough, jagged bit, we're gonna try to gently. Okay, now. And what's interesting about this one is there are little holes in the plastics on the outside so that the gray on the inside shines through. And you can see that over here on this blue piece here, how when I snapped the blue on top of the gray, you have these gray areas. So it's almost like it's using the understructure to give it some accent, or, gray accents, I would say. Either way, I like it. Now we gotta do B2, B1. I think I'm gonna take a break soon. This is another reason why I didn't stream tonight, because I knew I would want to take a break. But at this point, I'm pretty determined to get this done because I was just looking forward to seeing how it'll come out. All right, so we got B110. So this is runner B1. We got to go to number 10. I don't think it makes a difference, but we'll follow the instructions. I lost it. Oh, here it is. But it is telling me to do B110 and B210. All right. Well, looks like we already took the part from there. Oh, okay. Wait, I think I have a hunch here. Oh, okay. I see how this works. It's because it's a symmetrical set. So we got B10 and C24. So we're already good. Okay, and we'll give it a very gentle scuffing. Oops, I almost forgot to use the 600 grit sandpaper first. You're not really supposed to use the gun primer unless you you get it down to a 600 grit and then you use the gun primer. We're using the gun primer sander, followed by the polisher. Okay, now we take this blue armored plate, we attach it to the shoulder in the same manner as the picture is telling me to. So it looks like, yeah, there we go. Whoops, uh-oh. That was close, I almost broke it. There we go. So now we have the better part of the opposing shoulder. I don't even know what side this is. Okay, this is the left, so this will be the right. So you can see the resemblance right there. And I should probably clock it. It took me about 20 minutes, I think, to get through all of that. I don't know if I was doing it at a real fast pace. Maybe it took me 15 minutes, but yeah, yesterday it took me like 40 minutes to do everything from the shoulder down. In fact, okay, here's what we're gonna do now. I'm gonna switch gears because at this point, I don't really want to do this tiny part until tomorrow. I remember it being a little tricky, and I don't want to break it. This part is rewarding because once you get to this part, yeah, actually, it's almost tempting for me to move forward because once you get to this part, you start seeing a major chunk of the arm taking shape. And then this part here is just this red thing. That's what you're looking at, this whole assembly. And there's even like a lightsaber you put in there, see? And if we open it up, there's the Victory Gundam beam saber and how it goes into that little holder. And so let's go and find the missing part. So up here, C20 is the missing part. So we're going to apply C20 to the original, the left arm. And then I'm going to do a little cleanup here. And not so much cleanup, just kind of put everything away. So yeah, we got C20 right over here. So apparently, this part I literally skipped. So it's kind of nice that I'm able to backtrack tonight and find the missing link. Okay, now we can give it a gentle, just kind of removing the nib from here. Okay, so we use the 400 grit to get rid of any rough bits or to kind of smooth it out, level the surface, and then we're using the 600 grit. We went from 400 grit, we're going up to 600 grit now to give it a clean surface so that the gun primer can be used, the gun primer sander. Okay, and I believe this goes, yeah, that actually looks like it goes there. So there we go. So we applied a missing component. Now we got the full arm here, and so before we wrap up, I'll show you what we're talking about. So this is a high grade Victory Gundam as opposed to a Master Grade. Or this one's a version Ka. But I would say the version Ka is basically a Master Grade. If not better than a Master Grade. And so, we got a lot of articulation in that shoulder there. And, I think generally speaking it's going to be rotated forward like this. So let's see if we can match the orientations up a bit. Okay, so we got the armored flap over here. Mainly the thing is that this ball joint is where all of the movement happens on the Master Grade, high grade actually. But on the Master Grade or the version Ka, you can see we have a lot more going on in the top here. Like, I mean, this entire thing swings out like that. It's almost like I thought I was going to break it just now, but no, it goes out like that. So there's a lot more articulation. And you can just see like some parallels, like where this joint is. And it's not quite twice as long, but it's like nearly twice as long. I would say it's like, you know, maybe 40% larger, I guess. I might be like more, but it's pretty significant. You can see here. And so you can just imagine how much larger this entire caboodle is. And I mean, we could sort of see on the core fighter here the folded up Gundam head. And once again, like I'm holding them at the same distance from the camera. And aside from the fact that I didn't install the eyes on this guy yet, I keep forgetting to go and revisit this one to add eyes to it. The size of the head is basically the same. So I got to put a decal inside here and here. But other than that, you know, everything is basically the same concept. We got the Vulcan cannons, we got the vents, we got the red, we got the sensors. And this one just happens to be smaller. So I'm really looking forward to like, I think at this point tomorrow night I'm going to resume work on it. Because I really do want to see this take shape at this point. Like I've sat on it, I waited a month. And I think like after doing a bunch of like high grade models, including this really cool gun tank that I'm very proud of. I mean, you can see the, we applied some gold paint, gold metallic paint here. While down here we got like, you know, just all of this stuff. We're still kind of messing around, but I also did some like rust coloring here, which I don't know if I did a great job, but you know, you can see it looks like either it's been in the mud or it's been in the rust. This part, unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to redo. See, I tried using the metallic blue, but what happened was like 4 times, like when I did the metallic blue the other night, I kept touching it by accident. In fact, I think we're going to fix that before I go to bed. Because we need to like redo that. Now, we got to be careful because I'm happy with the vents here. We're not touching the vents. Well, that's interesting. Actually, we might be able to just do like a light wash on it and call it a day. I mean, it looks like it might actually work itself out because if I don't have to repaint it, that's better, you know? You know, maybe we can make it look just like it's been like roughed up in battle or something. Yeah, you know what? I might leave that alone for now. And I'll revisit it tomorrow to decide if I want to do anything special with it. It's not the most accurate blue here, but this is basically correct. And if anything, we can do some black inside the vent. So somewhere here, I should have a blue or a black lined marker. And, nope, that's blue. That's not black line. But we want to find that line marker because we're going to try something special here. Alrighty. Let's take a look here. Let's try a gentle. Okay, that brush marker doesn't really do the trick, at least not for what we're trying to do here. So I hope I can find the marker I'm looking for. Found it. Okay, so let's try this out now. So we're going to take this fine-tipped pen. Sometimes when this marker doesn't want to write, I'll write on another surface. It's probably a better way to do what I'm trying to do right there. But I'm very much afraid to use anything too aggressive. So for example, we could take this dark gray mark, which is basically black, and we could dab it inside the grill. So essentially it'll fill in the gap, but you know, it's not super ideal. First time I did it like this, it actually wasn't terrible, but where I made a mistake was to dry it off, I blew on it, went, and like a bunch of ink came splattering out. So I'm not super crazy about So at that point, I think we're going to leave it alone, see how it dries out on its own, and that's how I'm going to decide if I should do the opposing side in the same manner. What you might notice is how this is yellow, but this is gold. All these gold parts are supposed to be yellow like this. And I just, on a whim, decided to go and keep this yellow and just so I could have a contrast, so I could compare the baseline to the Redux. It's a lot like my RX 78-2. And so these master grade or high grade models actually have been a really great way for me to practice and discover different techniques. So apparently, I didn't know that the GM shield was slightly smaller than a Gundam shield, but it is. And we used the gold marker, metallic gold on here. This yellow is the original yellow. I didn't paint it at all. The red here is my attempt at weathering it. Instead of weathering it, it got all blotchy. But the red paint job is good enough. I decided to mostly leave it alone. Like, if I wanted it perfect, I'd have to strip the paint again and redo it. And that just takes forever and gets messy. This one we used a gun primer polisher on to get that shininess back. Whether we want it to be that shiny or not it depends. But one thing that I had an issue was there was some pressure marks. Basically, where you snap the parts together, you would see these two circles here and here. And so I was able to flatten it out by sanding the surface multiple times. And then after sanding it, you know, you want to get it to a 600 grit, followed by using the gun primer. So essentially the two versions of this part here, followed by this green side and this white side is what gave us this. And you can see there's some area up here that's a little rough still. It's not terribly important to me, but you know, I could revisit that at my leisure. I should give love to the Gundam ship, but I want to take a break from heavy painting. This one, obviously, we're going to have to strip the paint off and redo it. But the rest of the engine pod is in pretty good shape. So, I mean, this one eventually will take shape and look really nice. But yeah, like, we completed the gun tank. The gun tank is the one thing that is basically completed, like, through and through. It is, like, no other work required on this gun tank. Actually, there is some work required on here. I made a big mistake on the upper bit. So, basically, I have to, like, glue this down. But I'm not doing it until I'm absolutely done with everything on here. For now, it's a little, like, janky. But once I'm confident everything else is good, then I can, like, permanently weld this, essentially melt it into place. Also, I could definitely give the barrels here a bit more love. We got to do a little cleaning. We applied some glue in order to hide the panel lines. We still got to do some sanding on both of these before it's done. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. So we'll play it by ear. In fact, maybe I think I know what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to work on the gun tank tomorrow afternoon on my lunch break. And with that being said, I think we're all set. So I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight for tuning in, or anybody who tunes in on the replay, since this is a recording. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe. Unless you dislike the content, then don't do anything. You know, if you don't have anything nice to say, no, but jokes aside, if you don't like my content, feel free to hit the dislike button. Just please leave a comment. Tell me why you don't like it. You know, that would be helpful. Constructive criticism. Although, so far, I think everyone who likes watching this enjoys it. And the people who hate watching my content don't watch it. Which is, I think, the best way to do it, right? So, anywho, thanks for watching. And for now, I shall now end transmission.